It's only one.
Yeah, let me transition real quick on comedians. It's a little off the script, but Eddie Griffin. I think of Eddie Griffin often, but when we talk about top comedians, he's not often thrown into there, even though he's one of the top comedians of all time, one of our favorite comedians. But he reminds me of like almost like a cat, to where their comedy is untouched, and motherfuckers don't want to get in a ring with them two comedians when it comes to being funny, because they can go blow for blow with the best of them. Right. But they don't get the credit they deserve. Right. They don't get thrown into those top tier names, and it's almost like because they don't conform or kiss anybody's ass either. Eddie Griffin, very outspoken, somebody that's never was going to kiss anybody's ass, always often talk some real shit. He's got a residency out in Vegas right now. I actually hit him up to get an interview with us. His representative hit me back and said, they're not doing interviews right now. Appreciate her hitting us back. But he's a mind and a wealth of knowledge. Do you think that he doesn't get a fair shake in his comedy game, Eddie Griffin?
Yeah, I could say that's accurate. I always liked Eddie, and I always thought that he always really kind of just brought that thing for real, with his comedy, and told a lot of truth in that. And I think he's one of the guys that's definitely underrated, and I definitely can agree, with that. I can always appreciate, people who just going to give you the real in a time like, today, man, for real. Indeed.
And what people don't know about Eddie Griffin is he's Kansas City, Missouri. He's a boss. I remember hearing stories, me and Matt, when Matt was going through the thing and doing the music thing and just dealing with certain people. He was a G out there. He was really making moves, and he was a boss out here for real. I would love to sit down to him and have some real conversations, even beyond the comedy. That man has some stories, man. And salute to Eddie Griffin. Very a fan of you on the podcast, man. Couldn't wait to sit down and talk to you in the future if we could.
Yeah, we definitely, I think, we'll be bumping into all these guys at some point that we speak about, and hopefully we'll get a chance to bring them here and talk to these guys directly and ask some of these questions, man.
That'd be dope. That'd be an honor.
Definitely. But you're tuned into the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast with your brother Old God and SamAnt. Another episode in the books, man. I'm trying to think of a little relationship topic and whatnot, but I can't think of nothing off the top of the head right now. But I guess what we could do on the end of this thing, man, kind of just expound a little bit more on 50. What he was saying about some of the the OG unit members and whatnot, and people not being afraid to leave people behind. You know what I'm saying? And Nipsey said it in one of his songs, circle got small, everybody can't go. Jay-Z has made moves to get rid of different people out of his group, all the guys. And, obviously we're naming the guys in hip hop because it's the simplest thing you guys are going to know. At some point in time, you'll come to a place where you're going to have to, cut ties with individuals. It could be even like, your spouse or your girl. It's not just, business relationship specific, that you guys had a great relationship. Y'all was doing well, but you went this way and she stayed here. She didn't want nothing to do with your business. She didn't support the business. She was never around. So you was like, you know what, babe? When I was in the streets and I was struggling, you was good. But now I got to move on. The same crossroad happens, I think, in business. And I think when you can have magic with people, you can also, mess up a lot of good situations by staying in toxic situations. And we all have been there in business or with people that we loved, and we had to say, you know what, man, this person is just not ready. And I think 50 Cent, seen that about some of the G-Unit people. Talk about that a little bit, though, man.
I think that we get caught up because of loyalty. When you grow up with people or you get caught up in a situation where you may become friends or just be invested in somebody's life, loyalty can be your biggest downfall. And what we have to understand is someone else's happiness is not our individual responsibility.
That's a fact.
Your happiness is not my responsibility. My happiness isn't yours. We come here, we do what we love every day. But if my happiness is lacking and my production is lacking, that's not your fault. That's on me.
Right.
And it may affect the group, but it's on me. And it may affect the group to the point where you decide one day, listen, I can't control this anymore, but I can't be unhappy because of it. I have to leave, no matter our relationship. And I can never look at you in a bad way. But oftentimes, because of our egos and because we don't really see that, we're fogged and all this shit, we're the first ones, the people that are just being put in toxic situations the most and decide to leave. Those are the ones that are blamed for it because they don't want to sit in the mud, sit in the barrel with the ones that can't, for whatever reason, get out. Because I was in the barrel with you. I was in the mud with you. I just decided not to fucking sit here. I decided to do something about it and get out. And when I got out, I offered hand because in all real situations, the entrepreneurs and the people that are there, they may not give money. They may not have the dollar amount, because what people don't realize is the second success comes, so do the hands.
Yeah.
So do the fucking hands. And it could be your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, the cousins that you ain't fucking heard from in years, this or that. You upgrade and may buy a new house or new car, and that motherfucker goes to that. Responsibility comes with success. And the people that were once riding with you and no longer ride with you, what they fail to realize is all those responsibilities that I have don't negate the fact that, one, I don't love you, but don't mean that I have to sit there and hand you shit.
Yeah.
The gems that I give you, the knowledge that I give you, you can take and make your own. But you don't see that. You want me to hand you something.
Yeah.
And that's what people fail, man.
And it goes back to that old analogy, man. Like I continue to take people to the pond, and you can continue to fish for them and cook it up and everything, and it's good. But it's like, yo, I got to show you, because one day I might not be here. So look, this is how you do it. You can remember Grandpa was trying to teach us how to fish when we was younger and all that. Yeah. And it's just like, you throw the rod in. You got to be patient, though. You got to wait. And we trying to get it quick and everything. But it's just think
about that lesson though. I ain't even think about that lesson though, because even though we didn't necessarily get the fish, we didn't get the patience.
Yeah,
you got to, man. You got to wait your turn. You got to be persistent. All of those values was in everything. We seen when our grandpa went through a stroke in his 70s, and he was supposed to be done. Leg was already messed up from a car accident previous. Whole left side goes out. What does he do? I got one for you. I wanted to ask you a question. So a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, you were out with some good people, went to see the comedy show, man. DL Hughley. Now, we've been talking about comedians a lot on the podcast, what we like to do, real into the comedy game. We're going to talk about DL, somebody that we talked about on the podcast often. First off, how was the show? And where do you put him in your top list? We've talked about top comedians often, and DL usually doesn't.
But he was in the King comedy joints, wasn't he, back then?
He was in the original Kings of Comedy. That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think, then, yeah. But now, I like DL. I don't have nothing against DL. I went to go see him. I thought it was a good show. I'll be honest. I think that it was the guy before him did an excellent job. I forget the brother's name, but he did a real excellent job. DL, I think is, kind of one of those guys who is not beyond his years, but it's kind of getting a little watered down and washed up as far as with the comedy game. I mean, I got to be real with that. Even though he put on a great show, but for that reason, I don't think I could put him in the top anymore. Like back then with the King of Comedies, those guys, yeah. But I think now you got a whole nother breed and pedigree of guys that are way funnier, in my opinion.
I've always watched DL, and I've always appreciated his comedy, but I've never put him in the ranks of my top comedians, because it's always seemed as though he's very intellectual. So he'll always tell that intellectual line, which I like. I like my comedians to tell me a story and make me laugh on some real shit. So he does a great job at that, but it almost seems as like, man, who's pulling your strings, man?
Mm-hmm. Damn.
Who's pulling your strings for real? Because you're very outspoken, and now if you watch him on Instagram, it's very pro-black for what it may look like. Maybe race bait, maybe pro-black, who knows? We'll let us sit down to him and talk, but he doesn't talk to us, talk to other people.
Yeah, you run to
it is what it is. That's no hate. It's
just facts.
It's just real shit.
Right. But he talked to any, never mind.
Maybe. I mean, he has his own show and he has people on there. So, I mean, not going to discredit him just because he doesn't talk to us, but that is what it is. DL though, man, it just seems like now when you look at him, it always seems as though he gets amped up around the political race season. Anytime we got nominations coming around, anytime this or that, DL gets turned up. We see the shows on CNN. We see the pro-black speech. We see the statistics of how many this and that and all this. And it's just like, man, I don't know. I just wish we would just get some genuine stuff, because then when it comes down to some nitty gritty, you'll say something completely left and they'll go, see? That's black voice. Totally. It's like, whoa, no, don't fucking hate.
And we're not always going to agree with everybody, but I think that, in my opinion, some of these guys who try to represent black folks as a whole don't represent black folks as a whole. I don't know who the hell they're talking for. And because it's like, you got to be consistent. And like you said, some of these guys, they'll be giving it to you, and then you'll need an issue. You really need these guys to stand up. They'll be silent as a church mouse, or they'll go completely against whatever, we should be going with, you know what I'm saying? Just like it's blatantly obvious, and you'll see them say, well, nah, he did it to himself or some shit like that. And he's like, well, damn, DL, like, who's paying you, dog?
Yeah, man, it does seem like that.
You know, but, you know, again, you know, maybe, you know, we're going a little too far with that, but I don't give a damn. This is our podcast. We can do that. Shit.
Hell yeah. Let me transition.
It's only